We cannot talk about any lens without mentioning chromatic aberration or distortion, but one thing now I will tell you, because of this lens optical design, everything is controlled in a nicer way. So let me explain. I have been trying the Viltrox 28mm, and this lens is very versatile and reliable, and if you are looking for a wide angle lens, I think you should consider this one. Designed specifically for Sony full frame mirrorless cameras, this compact and lightweight lens is an all-round tool for professional filmmakers and photographer and content creator looking for a good lens at an affordable price, offering impressive image quality and reliable autofocus. The Viltrox 28mm lens delivers very good image quality. It's sharp and the contrast is very accurate with minimum distortion even when open at the widest aperture. One of the best features about this lens is definitely the aperture of f1.8, which means this lens excels in low light condition and produces a beautiful image with background blur or bokeh, and that also enhances the visual impact of your shots. When it comes to the image quality, the Viltrox 28mm does not disappoint at all. This lens produces a sharp and beautiful image even when shooting at wide, which is f1.8. The center sharpness is very impressive and it continues to be very consistent even through the whole aperture range. When it comes to 28mm full frame lens, I must say there's only a few companies that makes this focal length, and Viltrox is the third company. And honestly, comparing all these other lenses, it's very good to see how much Viltrox made this lens so much affordable for filmmakers, photographer and content creator. And that was something that I actually like about this lens, because basically quality, sharpness, autofocus, and basically the aperture, price to image ratio, this lens is really worth it. I'm currently shooting a commercial, and basically I did take this lens with me and I did try it on a few cameras, and I must say the results are very good and very impressive. If you're using one of those Sony cameras that have a good autofocus, then listen, you will love how well this lens performs, and you also get to experience that silent stepping motor that this lens have, allowing you to have very fast and precise and smooth autofocus without having a lot of noise, which is very near silent, and that alone made me fall in love with this lens even more. Another thing that you need to know is that whether you are capturing fast moving subject or shooting in extremely low light condition, first, this lens is capable and the autofocus will keep up so well, which was very surprising and honestly I would say exceeded my expectations. One of the first things that you're going to notice when you put this lens on your camera is how the aperture ring is very smooth and it's also very clickless. Basically, the whole things give you this smooth and precise control, which is very good, and it just makes the whole experience of switching your f-stop very good. One of the most important thing about this lens, in my opinion, from a DP or filmmaker perspective, is that when shooting with this lens and you want to rack focus, there is no any heavy focus breathing. Listen, this is the first thing that I usually check, or one of the first things that I usually check when buying a new lens, because focus breathing for me, they kind of like shift the viewer's attention and I find them very not pleasing. I don't know about you. Listen, write in the comment and tell me your experience. So that was another thing that I do like about this lens. Something that I know filmmakers and photographer or content creator will love about this lens is because the close minimum focus distance is 37mm, which is good because it actually allows you to capture close-up shots with shallow depth of field, which also add this good visual aspect within your shots. And you know, since you guys love those type of shallow depth of field, it honestly add like a visual artistic into your shot and kind of like make it visual pleasing for some people. No Roger Deakins, because he actually doesn't like all that jazz. My first impression when unboxing this lens, I was like, wait, how much is this? Because honestly, when you actually see how well this lens is built, it has a solid metal construction mixed with high quality plastics, which does not feel very cheap or flimsy, and it kind of like give this premium quality lens when using it. And basically it also ensure longevity because how well this lens is put together. Something that I also noticed about this lens was this USB Type-C. This means you can update your lens firmware in the future, which is very, very good because basically Viltrox think about you and the way of resolving any issue that your lens may have in the future. And for anyone that love traveling, you love how compact and lightweight this lens is, which is very good because that makes it the perfect tool or the perfect companion for any traveling filmmakers and content creator, or basically anyone that does vlog or anything really. At 28mm, it's actually a very versatile focal length for a variety of filmmaking and photography genres. So as a photographer, you can shoot portrait, you can shoot landscape, you can shoot street photography, you can also do like environmental portrait, or also do some close-up with this lens. And for filmmakers, obviously the possibility is endless. For anything you want to capture, this lens offers you a wide field of view without too much distortion, offering you a natural and pleasing perspective. As you know, we cannot talk about any lens without mentioning chromatic aberration or distortion, but one thing that I will tell you, because of this lens optical design, everything is controlled in a nicer way. So let me explain. I had to look for it and I had to find it, but only when you zoom in at 500%, which is good because honestly it's not visible at all unless you are looking for it. And in video mode, most of you guys won't even see it. And with pictures, sometimes when you zoom in too much, then you can see the edges of your frame. It's very, very minimum. So that is very good for the lens at this price. One of the things that might be overlooked by this lens is its optical design, which really reduces flaring and ghosting. And you know guys, flaring can look unprofessional sometimes, but I love how this lens kind of maintain it for you guys. And another thing is that I always check this thing, how's the lens contrast, and this is giving me a very beautiful and pleasing contrast. And another thing that I do get from this lens, which is very important to me as a DP, is this natural and beautiful color rendition. And as you know, a lens look character always affects your shot, and to me it makes this lens experience, or the whole experience of using this lens, worth it. Especially like I said, price to image ratio, this lens is worth it. But obviously, as you know, there is not a perfect lens. So let me tell you a few things that I've learned when using this lens. First of all, yes, the autofocus is amazing and I love that, but I would have loved to see a button between manual and autofocus, because that would save you and me that time when you have to go inside your camera menu and change from manual to auto, if that makes sense. And another thing that I would have loved to see is the stabilization going on in this lens. And I know I'm asking for too much, because listen, first, this lens is impressively affordable, so it like image stabilization, why not? And one thing that I've noticed is that, as you can see, the ring is almost halfway in here. Sometimes my hand gets slippery and that's just me, but honestly overall I loved the whole experience about this lens, and I love using it, and I would definitely recommend it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, my name is Kashilembo, and on this channel we talk about filmmaking and basically anything that improves your visual storytelling. So if you're new here, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell icon so you don't miss when I post a video like this. And you can check this lens and everything else that I use in the video description. Also, thank you Viltrox for sending this lens, and I had to try it so you guys don't have to.